You guys want it? Did you guys call yet?
Yeah. I would like the number. I work for FDNY.
I'll tell you what. If you guys get MMA in New York, I'll go to dinner with all of you.
I'm jealous.
Hey guys, so after a really exciting experience of having our friends at the UFC at the Beacon Theater in New York City, yes, we can have press conferences, we can have events, but we can't have a UFC fight. So I needed a drink after all that, right? And I brought a friend with me. I brought David Weinrob, all right, and I said your name correctly?
Beautiful.
David is a lawyer for the UFC.
Correct.
And he's going to explain to me why I can't have a UFC event in New York City. Why me personally, I'm taking it personal, but he's going to explain why it's not happening.
You know, I've always had this philosophy that lots of people want to watch great fights, as long as they know they're on. So we figured we go out on this tour, get out in front of everybody, let everybody know what the end of the year looks like, and then we'll start promoting these fights one by one like we normally do. So we wanted to get out here, get in front of you guys, talk to the fans, and we appreciate you coming, and the media. Thank you.
Yes, it's my fault that we don't have live professional MMA in New York State. About 5 years ago, the UFC hired my law firm. We do a lot of lobbying and government relations. We're based in Albany. We started lobbying and talking to legislators, and 5 years ago, frankly, the sport wasn't where it is now. So
Right.
A lot of the early efforts in years one and really just the first year was educating legislators and staffers as to what the sport was, what the sport wasn't. They had an image of it from the early days, which wasn't the case anymore. So we talked about regulation.
They're saying that it's the lowest ratings ever. It was 2.38 instead of 2.4 that we did the same time last summer. We pulled a great number. There's nothing wrong with the number. The sky isn't falling. The thing isn't going anywhere. Everything's fine.
How much does
Now,
Today.
am I correct in saying that New York City is the only one out of all the states that does not have it regulated right now?
That is correct. Actually, New York State is the only state in the country where there is a state athletic commission that does not have the authority to regulate mixed martial arts.
What is that athletic commission?
It's called New York State Athletic Commission.
Right.
They would like to, frankly, but they don't have the legal authority, and I'll tell you why. Back in the 90s, before my guys bought the UFC, as
Your
I
guys
understand meaning
Zuffa
Dana
and
the Fertitta brothers.
Fertittas, yeah.
When it was owned by some other people, and it was marketed as a no-holds-barred type of engagement, it pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it
And,
wasn't only until like UFC 14 where they
That's right.
started using gloves, you know?
That's right.
So it was a different animal back then.
So the New York State Legislature, in its infinite wisdom, actually banned what was then called ultimate fighting.
Right.
And the governor at the time, George Pataki, signed that legislation into law.
Right.
That
That's where
is
we got the
state-
whole human cockfighting.
Correct.
And
Correct. George Pataki, John McCain have done a complete 180. They understand it. They are for regulation. You can ask them.
Though an independent study shows that annually it would bring in $23 million to the state. How do you get around that, and how do you make MMA legal here in this state? Thank you.
If I knew the answer to that question, my friend, we'd be having a fight here right now. I've avoided saying stuff like this. I won't. I've avoided saying stuff like this, but the bottom line is this. The most powerful politician in this state is keeping us out of New York for no other reason other than he supports the union.
So we're about to get the phone number of this person, this one person that's stopping MMA from being here in New York, from the UFC holding an event here in New York. And I'm going to make all these people make a phone call, just a phone call, saying that we want it here, because apparently the old school grassroots way of doing things, and if these people really love MMA, they'll make a phone call. Just like you did in high school.
Listen, operator, this is a very private call now. You're not going to be listening, are you?
Well, I won't even be on the line for a while. I'll number.
Hi.
Hi. Can you talk about the UFC's influence on martial arts and popular culture? Like the way stunts are being done in movies now, the way fight scenes are now, the things that UFC has out and has
Yeah, the
products.
fact that the movies are all coming after UFC people, and yeah, when you start to see, you know, Hollywood and all these other mainstream, whether it's sponsors, Hollywood, or whoever else it might be, going after the athletes that are in the UFC, from Nike to now, you know, Reebok and Under Armour and all these other guys that are interested now in getting into this business. And the fact that Fox is in a long-time deal, they continue to grow. They're launching a fucking network with the UFC.
So, what classifies amateur and professional in New York, right? Most of America is you get paid for professional fights and you don't get paid for amateur fights. So what's the deal? Why can't
exactly
people make
right.
a living off of doing that?
Well, that's a good question, and that's exactly right. The distinction is in amateur MMA, everybody can get paid but the fighters. Can you imagine that? So the very people who have dedicated their lives to this sport, that train, that put themselves, you know, into the octagon, cannot get paid under the law in New York. So
well, all right, maybe I've seen way too many like gangster movies in my life, and that's a strong possibility.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
If it's this one guy, Shelly, how do we know somebody's not giving him a whole bunch of money and saying, whatever you do, don't let the UFC hear?
You're going to find this very hard to believe, but I'm telling you, based on my over 25 years in government and politics, what I'm suggesting, if you do it, beats all that. It beats the union issue in Vegas, it beats money, it beats everything.
You know, emotionally, what it takes to train, sometimes disliking your opponent and what keeps you motivated in the gym. But how do you work with those emotions when you're in the ring? Do they cloud your judgment? Do you use them? How does that work for you?
They did the first time for me, but I won't make that mistake again. Yeah, I mean, sometimes if you have a dislike for someone, it's hard to separate that, but I didn't get into fighting because, you know, I wanted to beat people up I didn't like. You know, I still see it as a competition. You know, I'm going out there to test my skill set and the best Mishite that I can put in the cage. And really, that's what it's about, you know. So I'm doing my very best to put my personal dislike for Ronda aside and just looking at it as a competition. Well, it really doesn't matter to me. Everybody go find that dude. I really find emotionless when I'm out there. I don't have any opinions about anything. I see everything that's going on and I see all the options and I try to narrow them down into a finish. And, you know, I'm not undefeated because I had the perfect circumstances leading up into every fight. I'm undefeated because regardless of circumstances, I still win.
Thank you guys, New York loves you.
All you have to do is have enough constituents call their member of the New York State Assembly, call their elected assembly member and say lift the ban.
Okay.
We have the numbers. What we need is a higher level of intensity.
You guys want MMA in New York, right?
Yeah! Woo! Like that. Just give me this number.
You've been calling? Have you guys called yet? Yeah. Take out your phone number. Take out your phone. 212-312-1420. Call them like it's an ex-girlfriend from high school. I don't care. Listen, everybody has called somebody repeatedly. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, my internet connection's not working. No, don't transfer me to a higher department. I've already been transferred 4 times. The only higher department you would have would be Jesus. Fine, transfer me to Jesus. I have tons of questions for him.
You can call 212-312-1420, and that's the district office. And then the speaker's office, the number for that is 518-455-4100. And you know, if you say you're a fan of MMA and you watch it and you download it and you spend the money on the pay-per-views, making a phone call once or twice a day, getting your friends to do it. Hey, do a Jerky Boys voice, something like that. I do a pretty good Mickey Mouse and Darth Vader impression. I plan on calling. So again, that's 455-4100, and you can also call the district office, and that's 212-312-1420, and always stay in touch with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If this helps, I mean, you know, we love it and it belongs here. You know, Madison Square Garden is the mecca of all sports, and the UFC should be there. It really should.
I'll keep pushing if you keep pushing.
I will.
Thanks very much.
I will. Thanks again.
Great.